Me again, and welcome back to episode 6 of Breaking Notes with myself, Curtis LaBelle. It's been a bit of a journey, and we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be smiling about as we've accomplished so much. So be proud of what you've done. Let's have a quick review of what we've done over the last few episodes, shall we? Okay, so if you're just tuning in, we've written a song, basically, is what we've done. And we have talked about form, style, versus chorus. We've written lyrics. We have a melody that we've created. We've been humming along. We've influenced ourselves with different songs that we've listened to by different artists. We've done some research on those forms of songs and styles, whether it be country, pop, rock, jazz, any of those many different styles we have out there in the world today. And then, of course, we've picked a key. We've worked with the instrument that we have, and we've picked a chord progression to go with our verses and chorus, and then we've put it all together. Now we have something to bring to the table as the next step for the puzzle. So what is the next step? Well, the next step is the arrangement and the sound. We want to amplify and flush out the style of the song. We know the emotion, we know the feel, we know the story. So let's talk about the arrangement and the sound of it and what instrumentation we might want to choose. So let's talk about our song, Community and Music, shall we? Our song is about community and music. It's uplifting, it's bright. We've decided it's going to be poppier. So I think for some of the music that's out there, there's probably a little bit of some synth sounds, some bass sounds, maybe there's some drums, guitar, piano, and maybe some keyboard synth sounds like I had mentioned. So we're going to flush those out, but let's have some fun with figuring out on our instrument exactly what we get to choose. This is the fun part, is figuring out what we want to use. So let's head on down to the piano and play with the different features and see what we've got and choose what we'd like to have. All right, on our piano here on this keyboard, we have, most keyboards come with different features and different sounds. Some of them have drum machines built in, and we're not going to use any of that right now because you'll see why in the next coming episodes as we work on the demos and rehearsals. We're going to put that all together. But this keyboard here has a couple of different sounds. So if we head over to this section here, we can punch some different buttons, and then we can play the keys. And you can see we have different sounds, and we can go up and down and go through and decide. That's like an electric piano sound. Of course, we have string sounds. Whoa, that's quite loud. Those are pretty dramatic. Nowadays, keyboards and technology has allowed for some great MIDI sounds to be developed that artists get to use. So really, really take time to find instruments if you have a keyboard to use. If you don't have a keyboard to use, you can definitely work with a producer that you may know, or find some friends, some other fellow musician friends that you can work with, and they can help you with finding some different sounds for the style of your song. But for us, for pop, we know that we have different beats and different things, so I think we're going to use some I think that's a nice sound, so I think that's a sound we'll use, an electric piano sound. That's uplifting since we're talking about community. I think that's nice. And we'll put in a beat later in the computer that we're going to be working with to send our demo off to a producer, because we'll talk about that later. And then let's say we have a bass sound. Maybe there's a bass sound, or there's a guitar. Maybe a steel guitar might be nice. Who knows? We're going to be working on the arrangement as we go into the next episode and start talking about the demo and working with a DAW system. What recording program do you have? And if you don't have a recording program, again, I encourage you to find out what resources you have and what resources you need in order to move on to the next step in the process of working on creating a song. And of course, remember, you're not alone when you are in this process. Reach out to people. This is all about community. If you are struggling, if you are having some moments of stress where you just don't know where we are, or you're not as advanced where you would like to be, that is okay. Talk to people. Reach out. There's communities on social media. There's communities around you. Go to your favorite music store. Talk to the guy there. Talk to a musician. Befriend another fellow musician that you've never met before at a music store. Reach out and build your community of music so that you can extend it and share with everybody. Let's have a little recap of what we're been talking about today for today's episode, and talk about what's coming up next. All right. We have an arrangement. We know what we want to work with. We've picked our instruments. We've decided. We've worked with a couple of other musicians. If it's country, we've decided we want a steel guitar, an upright acoustic bass. If it's pop, we're going to choose some electric piano sounds. If it's jazz, we'll do some jazz kit brushes on a drum kit and maybe a saxophone. You decide. You be creative. You let the juices flow and make mistakes. Break the rules, break the notes, and allow for it to just step into its mold. It will be exciting. We'll join you on the next episode where we talk about rehearsals with the musicians, as well as making a demo and the importance of a demo before you go ahead and bring everything to a producer. So we'll see you next episode, which is episode 7, Breaking Notes, where we talk about rehearsals and the demo. My name is Curtis LaBelle. We'll see you then. I was told we were rolling, so I think we should begin this. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Jim. Actually, it's Curtis, if you know that by now. Yay, let's celebrate. Welcome to Breaking Notes. This is kind of the off-the-record little bit, but I have here my friend Josh. If you have been paying attention, you saw him in the last episode. We talked about melody and community and all that lovely stuff. But he's here with me again at the end of this episode, where we are talking about putting it together. And that's right, putting it together. Josh, just right off the top of your head, when somebody says putting it together in the music industry, what does that mean to you?
Putting it together. Whew, another loaded question. You're good at those. I guess the first thing that comes to mind would be, taking a riff, taking the idea for a song and putting it together. It's not just an idea anymore. You have a song.
Do you guys all, do you develop do you put it together, or do you put it together separately and then get together? Well, let me explain what I mean. Stems.
Yeah, I did know what you meant. Yeah, it honestly depends on each song. Like sometimes, you're just sitting at home and I'll have just a little idea in my head, but I don't really have the time to take it to anywhere. So I'm like, I have a minute-long riff and some ideas, and I'll bring that to the jam. We'll show the guys, like, what do you think of this? And then suddenly right there, we'll build off it. Other times, the whole idea will come to me at least 90% of the way, and I'll record it like that, and then I'll show them, and then we'll just kind of flesh it out and make it better.
Okay, so I'm going to paint a picture. We're all sitting together in the room, and we are putting it together, if you will, whatever that means in quotations. What about structure? You know, in one of the first episodes that I talked about with Roy was structure, verse, chorus, bridge, all that stuff, and all that great stuff. When you're putting it together, how often do you find yourselves redoing things in that process of putting it together?
Say it's about 50-50. Sometimes we get it right the first time, and other times we're like, or I'll just decide, you know what, I don't feel like writing another verse, so let's cut this in half. Coming up with words is hard. It's one of the hardest parts of music. But
Okay, is it though? If you're putting that together, is it though? Or are you, like, we talked about this in another lyrics with Roy. Are you, like, you writing lyrics, right?
yeah,
Okay, so do you write from experience when it comes to putting things together, or do you write from emotion? Like, where do you write from?
yeah, experience and definitely like emotions, whether it's, you know, downtrodden stuff, you know, like try to put a little bit of hopefulness. But yeah, I've written a few songs where it's I just made up a story and it's like this never happened, but it's just, you know, telling a story that's just made up. Because I had a friend that was writing songs like that, and I'm like, I'd like to try that. So
Okay.
but for the most part, I try to write about what I know, and you know, I don't really dive into politics or anything like that. It's more about experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, emotions, I think, is a great way to put it. Like, this is how I felt at one point in my life. Other people may have felt like this as well, so here's a song about it. Maybe they'll connect with it.
Right, connect. And that's what we want to do, and that's what music does through
Community.
Community, absolutely. Let's talk about the instrumentation you have in your band. What do you got? You have...
So, the band itself has been around since 2014, and it's had a few different iterations. Is that a word? And so right now we're just one guitar, bass, and drums.
Three piece.
We all have mics, so we can all sing and do harmonies and
Okay.
stuff like that.
I will argue that then it is a 6 piece because singing is an instrument, so you've got to count that in as well. The voice is an instrument.
There's 3 humans.
There's whatever they play, that's what it is. So the structure and the putting it together with those instruments, how do you choose? Now, this is something we're going to talk about in the next chat that we have for the next episode when it comes to arrangement.
Right.
But just kind of loosely touching on that as we're putting it together right now and kind of explaining what that is for this episode. When do you decide the bass doesn't play? When do you decide, I know this is a bit arrangement conversation, but when do you decide how to put it together and not step on each other's toes and allow other instruments to breathe and have their voice, if you will? How do you do that? What's your process for that?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we practiced last night and we were talking about a song that we have, and some people had said it was too busy, so that kind of lends itself well to what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like the instruments, whether it's vocals, any of the actual guitar, stringed instruments, anything, they shouldn't be fighting each other. So what we like to do is if the bass is going to do something funky, the guitar should pull it back and just do something simple.
Right.
So because if you just the guitar is soloing, the bass is soloing, the drum's doing a solo, and they're singing, like it's going to be just a big old mess. So for the most part, it's like just like I don't know how you write songs, but we have our influences, right? So
For sure.
there's a blueprint there. Like you don't want to just be paint by numbers with your music, but you know what you like to hear, and you're like, oh, I love this in this song, where everything drops out and it's just the vocals or it's just a cool bass line. Like
Yeah.
so it's not like we're reinventing the wheel with what we're doing, but like obviously it's different for every song. We're not just blatantly ripping off, but I think to answer your question, that's just kind of, and it could come from any of us. Like the drummer be like, oh, it'd be cool if I added this fill that I've been dying to put in a song, and we're like, well, that doesn't really go well with what we're doing right now, but if we pull it back, then that's a really cool part in the song that's going to stand out. So
Right. Okay. To kind of what is the word I'm looking for? Not compare, but us. Well, I can't think of the word at the moment. But for family, you're a family man. You have children. You have a wife. You have a pet.
No pet at the moment.
No pets at the moment. I have 2 cats. I consider them my children, so that's family as well. Do you see any similarity? Let's say your family, your little community. We have many different forms of communities that we've talked about throughout the episodes. What is the comparison? Do you see any similarities in your day-to-day family community that your actions or the way things might be, the way you teach your children or the way you communicate with your wife or that area? Do you see any similarities that you find yourself doing in the music industry, working as a record label, a producer, an engineer, or as an agent or anything like that? What similarities do you see between music and community in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, 100% I would say. I mean, like, you like to operate on, like, everybody has their values, right? So the way that I want my family to be is kind of the way that we operate as a band. Like, we want to be people that you can count on, you know. We're not just going to be flakes. We're not going to be crap to servers. Can you say crap on the show?
Well, yeah, I suppose.
but yeah, like, to take it even further, like, just being in a band is a lot like, you know, it's like having a significant other, because you got people that you see a lot of.
Right.
And, you know, you have a lot of highs and lows together. Like, so
For
very,
sure.
very, very similar. And we always make the jokes, you know, like, people who date musicians, we're like, oh, you're going to go see your other boyfriends and girlfriends, you know, like, it's...
My husband thinks that I have my work husband, which is my manager or whatever, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. So I guess just kind of to wrap it up, so it's safe to say, and I think it's clear that we have in order for community to grow, we have integrity, we have trust, we have accountability, we have communication. That is very much those are important factors that musicians I encourage to display and to act upon when it comes to being collaborative as a band. And I think it's also safe to say that we have that in community. In this case, family being your community. We've talked about the audience being the community, what we're delivering to in music. But for this example, you have integrity to your family, you have accountability to your family, you have communication, and you want to leave for your children a good example of what is, you know, how to act, how to be polite, and all of those things. So we definitely have a lot of similarities with community and how to be respectful in community, as well as the similarities in music. So there's more than one way that music brings the community together. Josh, I have one quick question before we finish off, and we get to see Josh in one more episode. It's very exciting. Really quickly, I mentioned that I have been told at one point in my life that if we were to give a family member an instrument, I've considered the bass to be the mother of the band because it's always there, it's foundational, that's your mom. Roy was saying that perhaps because he's a drummer, he was saying that the drummer would be the child with ADD or something like that. You play guitar, so what family member would be the guitar?
Dang, so the bass is the mom, the drums are...
The drums would be the child with ADD. I don't know why ADD, but it just, because they're sporadic, and a lot of great things come from great minds.
The guitar is like the cool older brother that once you get to know it more, you realize it's maybe not as cool as you thought, but it's still pretty cool.
So if I hear that correctly, the drummer wants to be the guitar player.
Yeah, every time you at jam practice, you know, put your guitar down and the drummer, ooh, smoke on the water, like, hey, get back behind you.
Get back behind
Just
the kid. Well, if you stick with us, we'll find out who the aunt and uncle are and perhaps who dad might be. Thank you for joining me on this episode with Josh with Trashed Ambulance. My name is Curtis LaBelle, and this has been another episode of Breaking Notes.